Austin Scott is in the game. Instead it's Wentz, and Wentz going to take it in for the touchdown. Fakes it to Scott. Beautiful ball handling, and Wentz goes in for the score himself.
Out of the Giants last week, we saw it. They would come hard trying to come around here. And last week, their quarterback just simply did this, and it worked all day. Every key situation, and really, at least so far.
And play fake is beautiful, and Ertz is free alone for the 2. Second and 7. Look out. Gets it away, and it's picked off inside the 10-yard line. It's picked off, and running back to the 29-yard line is Rodney McLeod. So Mullins under pressure. Avery put the heat on, and for Philadelphia, that's their first interception of the season. Second and 18. Wentz is going to air it out deep downfield, and it will be caught, and into the end zone goes Fulgham for a touchdown. Travis Fulgham down the sideline for 42 yards. A guy picked up from Green Bay.
And just like that, everybody, we are in first place in the NFC East. Eagles with a big victory today, 25-20 tonight against the San Francisco 49ers. Phil Stiefel from All About the Birds with my normal co-host Johnny Uleka. We'll be joined by Scotty Talks from Scotty Talks Sports shortly. And yeah, as we got George, we've got Scott, we've got Tupi. Everyone's saying it's about time we have won. We've got lots to dive into, lots to talk about, all the good, all the bad. Make sure you drop your comments in the comment section. We'll get to all of them. Any questions? If you hear anything from the press conferences, let us know. But we're going to start right away. Johnny, what are your initial overall reactions to the game?
My big reaction is, of course, edge of our seat. It is what – yeah, Frank, much needed win. What's up, Scotty?
Scotty joining
in. What's up, man?
Woo! We are in first place in the NFC East.
Exactly, first place. But the big thing was the defensive line, the amount of pressure that they got. And it's not a bad offensive line. Trent Williams and McGlinchey, and they have good players on offensive line. They were getting pressure. And what happens when you get pressure? Phil, you said it before. With the defense, you get pressure, it sets everything else.
Turnovers, everything else. It's the first time we've had multiple turnovers in a game.
3.
Yeah, 3. I mean, and a pick 6 and all. I know it wasn't Slay like some people called, but you know what? It was big. Scotty, what are your initial reactions to the game also?
Woo. Yeah, man, finally some turnovers. I mean, obviously the pressure was finally capitalizing for us. Guys like Avery, Sweat. I mean, everybody was getting in there, getting pressure. Wentz, man, resilience. Finally, we see, the throwing part of his game, with that Fulgham, full-blown bomb. And, he was running the ball well all game. He did that at the end of the last game, but we finally started to see him start to hit his stride and rhythm in the passing game. And, very reassuring. Obviously, I'm wondering, what exactly is going on with Miles Sanders. That was a little sketchy at the end of the game there.
Exactly. Same thing.
Yeah, but other than that, man, great effort. Obviously, the other, negative takeaway is obviously those linebackers. But, hey, Alex Singleton, man.
You know what? It's funny.
Right place at right time.
I wrote Alex Singletary's name down before the big interception. I wrote it down, just because he was making plays. They said on the broadcast there late after the interception, he had only had 1 snap ever coming into this game. And he came up and he didn't make amazing plays, or all game long, but he made some plays in the running game.
Yeah.
He made some plays behind the line of scrimmage. And obviously the big pick, that was huge. It's nice to see some, linebacker actually do something, because I know we're going to
Yeah.
talk about it at least 100 times this show, that Nathan Geary is just absolutely trash. I mean, it just showed again tonight.
It's so bad, man.
If Nathan Geary starts the next game instead of Alex Singletary, Jim Schwartz's head's got to be examined. And we got somebody asking about Jeff. Jeff's recovering. He hasn't been feeling well the last week or so. We're hoping he's doing well. Hopefully he's watching. He's probably not. He's not that much of a team player, you know. But but it doesn't matter because we're all on this high because of the big must-win tonight.
Yeah.
And the big thing is, I think I said it before, and it goes with every time like Doug Peterson's pushed up against the wall, everything it's a must-win. You know, especially on a primetime slot, and they need this. They come out on top, and hopefully this is a momentum builder because you have two tough games going in. But moving Wentz outside the pocket, letting him kind of get a little bit of a feel there. Lane Johnson going in and out of the game, and the offensive line is a little bit of us, but Mailata didn't play horrible for someone. It's his first NFL start. The issue on the offensive line, and I said it. I was talking during the game, and Matt Pryor looked awful. His looked stiff as anything. His stance was awful. He was getting beat repeatedly, and maybe that's the reason that Herbig beat him out. So it kind of makes a lot of sense on why we didn't see a lot of Pryor until there were injuries.
Yeah, I mean the offensive line. You said Jordan Mailata. Yeah, he didn't play bad. He didn't play great. Let's not go like saying he's the next All-Pro offensive lineman. He didn't in his first start.
It wasn't a Winston Justice showing.
It was not Winston Justice. He did not play great in pass protection. He was a little off. His footwork wasn't the greatest, but run blocking, he's a bulldozer. He gets up there and starts moving. Couple run plays. He was like into the secondary before the running back already had the ball because he was just running over everybody. So that was really good. He didn't make too many mistakes. The one false start stands out, but that happens.
Crazy thing to me, man, is you see us get into the bottom of this roster, especially as far as the skill players. And for some reason, just kind of like last season when we're down to those last couple guys on that practice squad, it's like they all of a sudden the effort just goes up to like 120%. And you start seeing these effort plays that you weren't seeing in the last couple weeks. And I swear it's the difference. I mean, these players are not better than Deshaun Jackson. They're not Travis Fulgham isn't better than Jalen. It's not that they're more talented. I don't know what it is. If they just come in, they have a name they need to make. They're coming in as no-name guys, and they just try really hard. And I truly appreciate it. Even from guys like Singleton, like you said, Phil, earlier in the game, he was making plays in the run game as well. I saw him, save a couple, what could have been first downs, maybe just holding them to like 4 or 5 yard pickups. So, I mean, and I mean, the 49ers were beat up, of course.
Yeah,
we know that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. They had just as many injuries as we did. But yeah, I mean, this comment here that was made by Steven a few moments ago is a really interesting comment. I talked about it a bunch in the fourth quarter there. The gadget plays. Your season's on the line in a close game. There's something to be said to run those gadget plays in the first quarter, the second quarter, maybe even the third quarter. But it almost seemed like at multiple points throughout the game, Doug Peterson was trying really hard to be over-aggressive.
Yeah.
Just because he had been told so many times throughout the media and the fans that he wasn't being aggressive enough. So there's
especially later in the game, that Killins run. What was that?
Yeah, that Killins run pissed me off, literally.
That one, Hurts fumbled another snap. It was a little low, but the over-the-top gadget plays at the wrong moments. There's time and place for them. The moments he's using them sometimes is just not right. So he's really got to figure out the right mix of when to do it and not do it. And I absolutely hate the gadget plays when you put the quarterback out at wide receiver. It never works out. You risk hurting your quarterback. It's just not smart. But, yeah, who would have thought Richard Rodgers would have had a better game than Zach Ertz tonight?
Yeah. But the other
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Like we talked about Fulgham, 2 catches, 57 yards. And, he's playing he's the same size, playing like the role that a lot of us envisioned Arthego Whiteside playing. You know what would really, and I saw someone post about it that, if Arcega-Whiteside's healthy and they cut Fulgham to play Whiteside and Whiteside still shows you nothing. I understand Fulgham isn't really a household name or anything, but I don't know. I don't know where they go from here with it. When you see these guys that, like Scotty said, showing all this effort, the guys like Greg Ward, the guys like John Hightower, who made a big catch, guys like Fulgham, who had a huge catch, that touchdown, and stay in bounds and to be able to do that. And, these players are giving you that full out effort. Even a guy like Richard Rodgers, yeah, he's a veteran, but he's been on a number of teams the last couple of years just trying to find his way.
Yeah.
It
Very true, George.
Yeah. Love all the comments so far. Glad everybody's checking in. Yeah, it's great. So lots of good. We want to focus on the positives, obviously. The first big win of the year. Wentz did not look as bad and as lost as he did in the previous couple games. He started to look not too bad last game, but he really played a much better game. He did have the one interception, which was on the batted pass, which someone tried to tell me you can't stop that. That is a little bit still on Wentz. He did have some throws in the dirt and some off passes, but they were definitely moving him at points of the game, side to side and out of the pocket, which was nice and all. But what did you guys think of Wentz's performance tonight?
Go ahead, Scotty.
So obviously it's still not, where you want it to be. As far as, you're playing a beat up 49ers team. Like you said, that was a batted pass on the interception. You hate that play, and you wish it's one of those plays where just, kind of get rid of the ball or go down, take the sack even in that situation. It's a matter of, Wentz on a full scale. If he looks at his full scale of what he's done this season, you can't afford that batted pass to turn into an interception. So you can't risk making that throw. So you know what I mean by that? So like the amount of turnovers that he's already accumulated, he no longer gets that choice to make that risky decision. So as far as that, I didn't like that. The behind the, Miles Sanders going across the middle, he threw it kind of behind him. I know Miles bobbled it. That was still kind of off target. Still a couple balls in the dirt. But he did have pressure in his face all day. I won't deny that. The blitzes, when they blitzed, they were coming straight through. There was no stopping those stunts and those blitzes. They were in his face, and he toughed it out, man. He knew when to run. I thought his decision-making on when to run was perfect. So you're starting to see him get loose, and I think him running is making him a little bit more comfortable with the passing game as well. And I think Doug is starting to finally recognize that.
Yeah, I know. With Wentz, like watching him, and even the one play that he made that was called, they accepted a penalty to get the first down because it was a long second down play, and how he got out of the pocket, ran to the side. He always seems to make a huge play on Sunday Night Football. I know they showed a couple, but that was one of many plays. He made a couple pretty nice plays. The one thing, if I'm going to go, not positive, but watching him in the pocket, he doesn't move his feet. It's all upper body, all arm. And that's where you had a couple, the Miles Sanders throw and one throw to Greg Ward. So he's not comfortable, or he's trying to use just all arm and trying to get out quick as possible.
I think he's scared. Not scared. Scared's the wrong word. The confidence in his line protecting him. I think that's where that comes into play. That his progressions when he's making his reads, he's trying to speed it all up instead of 1 second, 2 second, 3 second. He's going 1, 2, 3. Really quick to do it quickly because he has no confidence. Real quick, Carson Wentz, he was 18 to 28, 193 yards, the touchdown to Fulgham, the one interception. He had an 81.4 rating. He was sacked 3 times, and he rushed 7 times for 37 yards and a touchdown. So all in all, I would kind of consider, not just because we won, but it was probably his best game of the year so far. Yeah,
I would say that. Close, maybe with the first game or maybe even the last game with his Russian attack. But that was a pretty well timed game as well. He timed his significant plays at the right time, and that was kind of the difference in the game.
Yeah,
and like I said, when he rolls out and he throws the ball, it just seems that they're darts. It's his comfortability. It's with the offense, even running some of the RPOs. And especially the first touchdown.
Yeah.
Doing that and trying to get the defense off kilter and trying to do different things instead of just drop back, pass, hand the ball off. They have to be more dynamic, and Doug has to be able to do that to help with Carson Wentz and help the offense move the ball. You're not going to have a game like this all the time, and the defense is going to play great. Sometimes you're going to have to score some more points, but I think Wentz took a step up, basically, from what he's played the last 3 weeks prior.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple other numbers, stats-wise, from the offense. Obviously, Travis Fulgham had the 2 catches, the one big one for the touchdown. Greg Ward with a huge game again today, 4 catches for 38 yards. I love seeing that. Great effort from him. Our leading receiver, Richard Rodgers. Sorry, guys. That Ward horde, as Johnny puts it. Yeah, that's really working out there. I'm trying to be positive. Rodgers had 3 catches, 35 yards. Everyone's going to talk about Fulgham and his big touchdown catch. But there was another young kid that made a big catch today. It was on a 4th down late in the game. Jonathan Hightower had a big catch on 4th down. I really thought they weren't going to run that play there. I thought they were either going to kick a long field goal or just let the clock try to get them to jump off sides and punt.
Yeah.
That was a huge first down, and no one's going to talk about that because then Fulgham made the big play. And again, on the running the ball, Miles Sanders only had 13 carries for 46 yards. Again, 28 rushes overall compared to, 28 passes. It sounds like it's level, but when you take out the 7 rushes for Carson Wentz, the 3 for Jalen Hurts, you're not going to win long-term without giving Miles Sanders the ball more than 13 times a game. So that's definitely a huge, huge concern there.
Yeah. What do you guys say? I mean, do you think he's injured? I mean, I know they've said he's fatigued, but come on, 13 carries. That's, I mean,
I don't know. Like, especially watching that when they come out and, that last series and he's not in the game, it's given to Clement, then it's Boston Scott, and then it's Carson Wentz on a scramble to the side and just lays down. I'm like, where's Miles Sanders? Why isn't he out there? You give him 13 carries. You're not doing a running back by committee anymore. There's no half and half. He's supposed to be the bell cow. He's supposed to be the guy. And I don't know if they're just downplaying injuries, if he's nicked up, that they're just not saying it and they're just not using him. But you can't go. And one game I'll even say, when you run the ball, it sets the tone. Look at Cleveland, Dallas. Cleveland ran the ball for 300 yards. If you run the ball, it'll set up everything else. And I understand that your offensive line was a little bit patched up, but still, if you're able to run the ball, and Miles Sanders was getting some, 4, 5, 6 yard runs in there, to go away from it, and that's what they do too much. They said, George, there has to be something.
Yeah, there's something that's not being said there because it's just unimaginable that he's getting the ball that little. I can't believe we won the game with him touching the ball as little as he did. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
They're thinking about key plays, exactly. That last drive, that was. There's no excuses for that. If he is healthy, there's no excuses for Doug Peterson there. So one other thing on offense, and it'll help us transition in talking on the defense, who definitely played a lot better today. Zach Ertz, 4 catches for even Greg Ward type numbers for 9 total yards. I'm actually not upset about that because, he was getting double and triple teamed every time he stepped off the line of scrimmage. And so we could talk about Zach Ertz, how he didn't perform in a big game. But on the flip side, we could transition that into the defense and how Jim Schwartz never saw what they were doing to Zach Ertz and decided to double team Greg Kittle. Or George Kittle. It doesn't make any sense. So Zach Ertz is a great tight end. So they double team him, take him out of the game. But on defense, we're not doing that exact same thing.
It's okay. Nate Gary's got it.
Nate Gary almost blew the game on the second defensive play when he let a fullback run wide open.
Yeah.
Nick Mullins didn't blow that throw.
It's either
a totally different ball game.
The problem is either he's missing something blatantly, not catching it, then he's so late, or he gets there, he misses the tackle. And it's just, and that's the one thing with Alex Singleton. coming in, he wasn't missing the tackles. He was making the tackles, and he had that gimme interception right to him for the touchdown. But I saw that T.J. Edwards went out with a hamstring injury, so he was out, which gave Singleton playing time. But if George Kittle, to not put a DB, even put Darius Slay plus another linebacker on him and make the receivers, either Kendrick Bourne or, Deebo Samuel was playing in and out, but make Kendrick Bourne or another receiver that they have beat you got to take away their key weapon. And they just weren't doing that. And just blew my mind that they weren't doing that.
To your point, Johnny, with Singleton and him just being in the right spot to catch that interception, a lot of the time that's Nate Jerry's problem is that he'll be in the right spot. I remember against Cincinnati last week,
see
there was a play.
His back was turned.
Yeah, he's turned around. Like, what are you like? If he would just, there was one where he was in the end zone, and I think it was like Boyd or Higgins was coming right behind him. If he just turns around, he'll see the ball coming and he could make that play. But he's just so clueless, or like just the awareness is at zero. And it's not getting fixed anytime soon. I don't even know.
And also, he doesn't even look like a linebacker out there. He's only 6'2", 230. He is so small. I mean, I'm 6'2", 220. So he's basically a few pounds heavier than me. I'm not covering no linebackers in the NFL or running backs or anything else. So the dude is definitely out of place size-wise, too. And that's concerning.
He played safety at Nebraska. He came out as a safety.
He's too slow for safety, though.
Right. He's not an NFL player.
No, he's not a safety. He's not a linebacker. He's a special team player.
Yes,
Kittle had 15 catches for 183 yards. And
it's a whole offense.
Yeah, and the thing was like it's not all Nate Jerry, but
tonight I'll show you.
He made.
Sorry, I was trying to bring up a stat on the screen, and I clicked on a video by mistake there. My bad.
Sure, okay. But no, it's just Nate Gary. It's just watching him just frustrated. And first of all, I saw two things. One said he needs to give up the dark visor. He doesn't deserve a dark visor. And two was, I never thought I would see a worse linebacker than Casey Matthews. I was wrong. Nate Gary is that, which is absolutely true.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what else did we see then? Because I think actually for the most part, I closed all the stats out because I just messed it up with the videos and all. You got the stats up, so that's good. Obviously, the defense played much better against a mediocre offense. Outside of Kittle, they stopped the run. Outside the big run by Ayuk for the touchdown,
which to me is a pass, but they call
it yeah. So outside of that, they stopped the run. They got lots of pressure on the quarterback, and 49ers have a very good offensive line. They got a lot of sacks, a lot of hits on the quarterback. I thought it was nice to see. I mean, he didn't have a great game. He didn't have a bad game, but he didn't have a great game. Kayvon Wallace getting the start. It was really exciting to see, and he'll only take steps forward as he gets better and more experience. But as a whole, I know the names you guys are going to say, but what names on defense stuck out to you guys the most? Johnny, you want to start?
Who stuck out? I have three names that I like.
Okay.
I'll give you two because they'll probably be the same as some of them. So Derek Barnett.
Yes, obviously.
He's looking like he's starting to figure some things out. Had some couple nice rushes. And the other guy that keeps showing up is Josh Sweat. He had a nice sack, going low on Trent Williams, who's one of the top premier offensive tackles. And those two guys, if you can get those going, and I'll even give a third one, Brandon Graham. Of course, Brandon Graham seems to be healthy, seems to be really, especially on that last drive, getting that pressure, key pressures. But those three, to be able to rotate all these defensive ends, and if they're going to keep playing like this, it's going to set the tone for the rest of the defense to be able to do a whole bunch of different things.
So this comment again from George, always great with great comments here. The linebacker play, it does, take away from how great the defensive line played big time.
Key name from the defense for me, LeBlanc, man. He just always seems to make some, he's really, for a guy that, and it's another one of those guys that came out of nowhere and kind of just was a try hard at first. And now he's turned himself into like a very reliable player. I know he got beat by Kittle on that one long throw. which he had no chance on. Kittle's just a monster.
Again, you can't have any safety or linebacker
exactly
straight up. Somebody sent me a message, asking my opinion on why Darius Slay wasn't guarding Kittle. And I know he's not size-wise big enough to bring him down, but at least he plays good coverage.
It would have
been an interesting thought process, an adjustment, which Jim Schwartz never makes adjustments to put Darius Slay on Kittle. I'm surprised. I thought you guys were going to say Jannard Avery.
Oh, yeah.
He had a huge game today. Not a huge game, but a huge game compared to his standards. I mean, I feel like he hasn't even had a tackle yet in his career with the Eagles. He had a nice big sack, a couple plays behind the line of scrimmage. It was really nice to see that. Howie Roseman's just in his office right now, tooting his horn. Finally,
forced that McLeod interception too.
Yeah, exactly.
Got the pressure on that.
Definitely had a really good game. Actually, outside of Fletcher Cox, everybody on that D line made a big play at some point. Malik
Ridgeway had a sack.
Yeah, Malik Jackson had some big plays behind the line of scrimmage. They all were making plays, which is really good to see. And I know you said it a lot about Fletcher Cox, Johnny. Yeah, I don't think he's healthy either.
And
in and out of the game all night. I mean,
and Hargrave showed a little bit. He's starting to get healthier. You kind of see some flashes with him. Malik Jackson has been playing really well, and even Hassan Ridgeway had a sack. And
how many sacks? You got the stats up there. How many sacks do we end up the night on?
5.
Not bad. Yeah, that's good.
Solid. I mean, it's not 8 from last week, but against an offensive line that's as good as the 49ers, that's a really good number right there.
5 sacks and 15 quarterback hits, which, it shows you. And the other thing that I saw that I love that Jim Schwartz did was blitz. He with the LeBlanc fumble was a blitz. You got to do that. You got to blitz. Sometimes he gets in his head of, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and
sticks defense.
Yeah.
Can't deal with that.
He still runs that out there every time.
Can't deal with it. It gives me a heart attack, man. I swear, it gives me a heart attack every time.
It worked. I won't lie. It worked once or twice, barely, but it worked once or twice tonight. It's still not the play you want to see, but
Hey, I got a question for you guys. How about the national media? I mean, they created this controversy at the beginning of the game, about Jimmy G's starting, Nick Mullins coming to take his spot. And by the end of the game, Nick Mullins is on the bench.
They pulled him out.
They were making this controversy out of thin air. Jimmy G just took them to the Super Bowl. Why would his job be on the line to Nick Mullins?
Yeah. Because he tore up the San Francisco Giants last week. The best secondary in the NFL. He lit up for however many yards. I actually wrote that down. I mean, I'm too excited about the win to really dive into the 49ers. But why would you change your quarterback? I know Mullins wasn't playing great, but he wasn't playing bad. That was a big deal, pulling your quarterback for the last 2 drives of a game when you're only down 2 touchdowns at that point. But
my guess is that they're counting on Jimmy G being back next week because that's a confidence killer unless you're going with Beathard or Beat. I don't know what his name is.
I don't know how to say. I don't know his name.
No, but the other thing that they were talking first, they start off, and although the best towards the end of the game, they're showing each other, they're fixing their masks because they have to wear them because of Santa Clara, and then Chris Collinsworth says, "My ears hurt." Yeah, that's all of us listening to you every single week.
Everybody gives Chris Collinsworth a lot of trash. I don't think he's as bad as people say. He's no Joe Buck. He's not as bad as there's much worse announcers out there.
We've talked about I like Joe Buck. But the other thing they showed all the 49ers injuries. What about the Eagles?
Right.
They don't say a word about the Eagles. He does the Iowa.
Everybody. I could go out there and throw the ball to Kittle.
Dude's a monster, man.
I mean, you literally just have to. So that was actually a big play. That brings up a really big play. Just showing how bad our defensive linebackers were covering him and the scheme covering him in general. There was a play, I believe it was in the 3rd quarter. Nick Mullins rolled out to the right, then threw across his body, across the field, about 30 yards to Kittle. That play is intercepted 97% of the time. And the fact he was wide open and had no contested, stop on that play. It was an awful play.
Speaking of the linebackers, someone texted me and I literally lost it because Duke Riley, he goes, who's this Duke Riley? Looks like Dog the Bounty Hunter running around on the field.
Yeah, no, I was actually. I like that they put Duke out there. He didn't play that well today. It was nice to see some of the young guys get out there, but yeah, no, that was.
Even. Go ahead.
These young linebackers, Davian Taylor, Sean Bradley, how much worse can they be? How much worse can they be?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
They obviously had Alex Singleton sitting on the bench. I was trying to go through tweets, and Doug Peterson said he's the unsung hero of the game, Alex Singleton. Yeah. Not just because of the interception, but because he made several big plays. And I don't care that Nathan Geary, Jim Schwartz or somebody will say, well, he led the team in tackles today. I don't care. They were useless tackles. They were unimportant tackles. They were tackles because he was already getting beat, and he had no choice but to bring the guy down.
Him and Marcus Epps.
Yeah, Epps did not have a great game. No. So there's still some issues, and going next week into Pittsburgh, we still have some issues on defense to really, figure out and all. But the secondary, for the most part, and the defensive line really stepped up. I had another name I was going to give you, but now I forget which one it was. But I don't know.
Jalen Mills wasn't horrible.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you guys feel about Jalen Mills? I mean, I know he gave up. Well, no, he didn't give up the touchdown, did he? No, he didn't.
No,
he actually called that back.
I mean, Jalen Mills. I mean, he's kind of tonight's game was kind of similar to how Slay's been playing all year and tonight again, which I'll touch on Slay in a second. When you don't hear their names a lot, then they're doing their job. And Jalen Mills did, have that one play he gave up. But outside of that, he played pretty well. But who were the wide receivers? Why is there so much love being thrown to Deebo Samuel? Is he really that good of a wide receiver? And
he's just coming back. He's not healthy.
Yeah, but I mean, I have him on my fantasy team. I know what he's about, but he's not a number one threat. He's not a top tier wide receiver. And they were making him out to be a pretty big threat, and I just don't see it. So while he played well tonight, for the most part, Mills, it wasn't like he was going up against Julio Jones or AJ Green or some speed demon guy that's just going to blow by him with a double move all the time.
It shows you because their receivers, Deebo Samuel's coming back, so they kind of limited his snaps and everything. Kendrick Bourne, Brandon Aiyuk, who's a rookie, and then Trent Taylor, who just got one target. They have Mohamed Sanu. How much has he fallen? And the Patriots know when to get rid of people. He was out on the field, but he wasn't targeted once. So
no, that's fair. Well, I think on that secondary too, we dodged a big bullet early in the game when Darius Slay took that shot to the knee. Yeah. And when he limped off the field, I thought that was looked like his knee got bent back pretty far backwards there. And I was like, that's not what we need right now. But then he came back and he played still well after he came back from that injury. So we dodged a huge bullet there. But even after the game, that injury list, when it gets released on Wednesday, the practice list and all, it's just going to be even. There was 14 names on it last week. There's going to be 17, 18 names. We're going to be practicing with our practice squad this week.
The best TJ Edwards went out. I saw that one as well.
TJ Edwards went out. Someone else went out. I know Lane
one of the safeties or secondary guys, special teams.
Rudy Ford.
Oh,
Rudy Ford. I saw him. He pulled up lame on a punt or a kick return. I did see that.
He had an injury earlier with a hamstring, so that's not good if he's hurt again.
Yeah. Lane Johnson will be out most of practices this week again. Lane Johnson kind of gave me a very last 2 years Jason Peters vibe, coming in and out every other play. So hopefully he can get healthy there because it's the offensive line is pretty weak. Yeah, he's a line. Yeah, I mean it's true. Yeah, I mean again, George always with good comments and good thoughts there.
But then if you think about it, what he was, a 7th round pick, what you've gotten out of him, I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, we probably don't win the Super Bowl without him.
Yeah.
But again, he's also somebody that's hurt all the time. But you're looking forward then with the defense and the offense. We got Pittsburgh next week. Not sure if the game will be played on time or not based off of them playing on Tuesday night now. It would be great if they didn't move the matchup. That would be a major positive for us. But you're going up against a team this week with Nick Mullins and Deebo Samuel. Outside of Kittle, they didn't have any weapons. Going next week to Pittsburgh, we got a Hall of Fame quarterback we got to go up against, Ben Roethlisberger. You got Juju Smith. You got James Conner. You got a much more talented offense. After what you saw today, a brief looking forward to next week, how do you feel this team's going to stack up against the Steelers, barring any major changes or anything.
I'm not looking at the offense. I'm looking at going up against the Steelers defense.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Their defense is
their
scary.
defense is fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which carried them to their 3-0 record thus far.
But to your point, I also wonder, even how this game today goes if Jimmy G plays. I know Nick Mullins. I mean, he's limited in what he can do, obviously. Jimmy G, I'm not super high on Jimmy G at all. I'm not a Jimmy G guy at all. But he is better than Nick Mullins, and he did lead that team to a Super Bowl. So I do wonder, how much that changes the game. But like you said, Big Ben's going to be out there. I mean, the Steelers have looked pretty good. The defense hasn't looked as good as last year, but they're still good. Still top 10 defense. So I'm really worried. I just not worried. I shouldn't say worried because the Eagles offense gave me a little bit of confidence, specifically Carson Wentz, which I think as long as he can keep his play clean, then we will always have a shot in the game. I think those turnovers have killed us all season. I think those are the main reasons that we've lost the games. I know there's a ton of reasons, for all the negative. We've had so many negatives. It's too much to discuss right here. But I think without Wentz turning the ball over, it gives us a chance every game. And if the defensive line can play like it played tonight, for the most part, if it can just play like that consistently, then we have a decent defense there. I know those linebackers. It always comes back to the linebackers, man. I just know down the stretch of a lot of games that's going to kill us. Similar to Higbee and now Kittle and anybody with a competent tight end that has any type of athletic ability is going to do damage on us.
Even if they don't have a great tight end, if they have a running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Or a slot receiver.
The 49ers weren't throwing the ball to the running backs as much as they have in the past, few years. But, anybody that has to be covered by the linebacker, period, whether it's a tight end or a running back,
The weird thing about the NFL is look how Nick Mullins tore up the Giants and up and down the field over 300 yards. And the Giants go to LA and they hold Goff to 200 yards and they hold them rushing to 23 carries, 58 yards. So, the NFL, it's weird. It's a weird year.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be something I meant to touch on, again, not to trash on Jim Schwartz. Actually, I enjoyed trashing on Jim Schwartz, but his scheme, that prevent defense at the end of the game, I mean, the first touchdown they gave up and then almost giving up a touchdown at the end of the game. I don't know why he hasn't learned his lesson that's, he was blitzing and putting pressure on the quarterback all game long. And then all of a sudden they just sat back, played a basic sticks defense for the entire last 5 minutes of the game and almost blew the lead there. I mean, I'm not sure about you guys, but there was a lot in my mind on that last play that I thought that ball was going to get caught in the end zone just because of the way the season's going.
Or an interference.
Yeah, or passive interference or something. I as soon as the game ended, I turned the TV off, ran in here, and I brought up the ESPN stats, and it still said there were 7 seconds on the clock. I'm like, oh, no. Did they call a penalty and I missed it or something like that? But, yeah.
No, it's just
Yeah, the offense as well. Yeah, we touched on that earlier, bringing Corey Clement and Boston Scott out there on the last drive versus Miles Sanders, didn't make much sense. And then running the gadget plays late in the game with Killins and Hurts.
I saw a good tweet from Dan Orlovsky, our guy,
I love him.
He actually tweeted right before that 2-minute warning, with the 1 second, take a shot on a pass right there because you're going to go into a timeout no matter what. So if you want to pass and take a chance of getting that first down and maybe using what was their third timeout at that point, the 2-minute warning, you know what I mean? That's your chance to take a shot and kind of put this game away right here. So I thought that was just a good tidbit, from Dan Orlovsky. Just right there, take a shot. It doesn't have to be crazy because even if you hike to pass, you can still always take a sack. You can still, even there, you don't even have to take a sack. You can throw the ball away. So just stuff to think about. Obviously, the clock management, it's always something. You know what I mean? It's always like we're always back against the wall. Even the Super Bowl, you know what I mean? I mean, literally down to the wire, down to the last second, the last play. And I just that sticks defense. I mean, you see the third string quarterback come in, and you decide to dial back the blitz.
Yeah, why not?
That doesn't make sense. Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
Make him beat you.
You just got to pick six.
Where Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz were a lot more aggressive through most of the game, Jim Schwartz was the complete opposite at the end of the game, being as passive as he can. And again, we won. We're in first place in the division. I don't want to talk negative right now. I want to talk positive moving forward. You got to think this team in that locker room right now, their confidence is jumping up a bit. You know, I don't know about you guys. My confidence moving on to next week and the following weeks is up a little bit. Not saying we're going to go on a big, long run here, but, you know, Wentz, you know, and Peterson got on for a little bit of that game there. They got a really good role, calling the right plays, the RPOs, Wentz threw the ball away a couple times like he should do instead of, forcing it, sliding the pocket and all. He did a lot of good things. They had a really good rhythm. Hightower, Fulgham didn't drop passes. So their confidence has to, be up a little bit and all. Again, like you said earlier, Mailata didn't play well. So the confidence of the offense and the defense with the sacks and the turnovers has to be in that locker room. They've got to be pumped up right now. And moving forward, they definitely have to capitalize on that, that confidence and keep getting better.
No, and I agree with you, Phil. And the other thing that, I look towards into the next week is, does Will Parks come back? When's he going to come back? What about Alshon Jeffrey? Is he healthy enough to play? Are you going to get some guys back? But the other thing is the way the defensive line played, Pittsburgh's offensive line, they already lost. They lost one of their right tackles out for the year. And David DeCastro, who's one of their best guards, is still not healthy. So you're going against their offensive line, which isn't as strong. I think San Francisco's offensive line is better than Pittsburgh's. So if you can create pressure, I know it's hard to get Big Ben down, but if you can somehow rattle him a little bit and get the pressure, it's going to set everything in the back end. Maybe Nate Gary will make a play. I'm kidding. He probably won't.
Look at Johnny with jokes here all of a sudden. We win one game and he's pumping out the jokes.
To you guys' points about confidence as well. I mean, I think Doug gets a boost of confidence from this as well. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he was slumping it out just like the rest of the team. I mean, we were questioning him as well as Howie, the rest of the team. I think Howie gets a little bit of a, in your face tonight.
Especially Nate Geary making that, or not Nate Geary, Jernard Avery making that big play.
Right. So I think Doug, he comes out, he gets that 2-point conversion. Loved that 2-point conversion call. It ended up, maybe not making the difference, but I mean, it definitely made a difference.
Made a huge difference.
Some of the decision making.
Yeah, his overly aggressive go for that 2-point in a spot where you probably shouldn't. It just set the tone for the rest of the game of being aggressive. And Anna checking in. I love it. 7-8-1. That actually win the division at this point.
Right. I'm down with that.
Anna. Home game in the playoffs if they go 7-8-1 probably.
You're telling me we get 6 more of these? I'll take it.
Yeah. The post-game show is so much more fun after a win. This is our 4th post-game show and the first time we've been able to talk about a win. So it's really good to have that positive vibe set here.
And hey, I mean, Doug looks like a genius for that tie as well, man. At this point.
Oh man, stop. No, but again, I had written that down to touch on the 2-point conversion. It was a huge play. It didn't even matter if they made it or not because it was just setting the tone. I mean, it wasn't the moment, and I know I saw a lot of people post, why are you going for 2 on the first, touchdown of the game? But it set the tone and hey, I'm saying it, and George is saying it too. Set the tone. That's what it's all about. Is setting the tone.
Design too. I like
it. Yeah, great play design.
So
and well executed on all facets of that play there.
Yeah, and the other thing, I want to bring up, looking at the NFC East, Washington loses to Baltimore. Of course, Dallas loses to Cleveland, and the Giants lose again. But
I actually, Anna, I touched on that earlier in the show. That you definitely get a Jason Peters vibe from Lane Johnson, 100%.
But, just looking into next week, of course, Dallas gets to play the Giants. And then, of course, the Eagles get the Steelers. And then Washington gets to play the Rams. So I have you boost, like Sky said, boost the confidence. The confidence is up a little bit. But I don't know. I think it can only go up, hopefully. Hopefully they can use the momentum.
We said it was a must-win game. They won it. It wasn't pretty, but this team has been known for winning the not pretty games. And at the end of the season, it's not who you beat or the score. It's what's your final record. Where are you at in the division? You know what I mean? That's all that matters. And then once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. So the confidence is great. Next week, Pittsburgh, I'd be really curious to see what they do with the game, whether they move the time of the game. Because Pittsburgh's playing Tuesday night, or have they just canceled? No,
they canceled. They had a bye week.
That's right. They moved the Pittsburgh game to later in the season now. So actually now the Pittsburgh's going to have a huge layoff. I don't know. It's not an ideal situation for them. But yeah, I think moving forward, they definitely build on this. Doug Peterson definitely will have a smile on his face at press conferences this week. Jim Schwartz definitely has to answer some questions on defense. But I really would be interested to see if they make any changes going forward with the starting lineup on defense, whether Kayvon Wallace stays out there, whether Singletary or Singleton or anybody else starts at linebacker. It'd be really interesting to see what they do moving forward this week.
Yeah, I hope to see more Kayvon Wallace, and then if you get Will Parks back, maybe try and wrinkle him. I don't want to see Marcus.
Yeah,
he could play special.
I said it in the offseason. Yeah. Will Parks, don't get overly excited about Will Parks. Will Parks is a backup. Will Parks is a role guy. He's not a starter. He's not somebody that you want out there for 80 to 90% of your snaps. He's a nice guy, a nice player, but he's not a major difference maker on a defense.
He's better than Marcus Epps.
He's better than Marcus Epps. But again, you shouldn't have Marcus Epps out there. You should have Kayvon Wallace out there more frequently. So right, I'll be interested to see what the snap counts are once they get released and all. But yeah, any other final thoughts from you guys on this game before we wrap this show up?
Go ahead,
yeah, I mean, just going forward, this definitely bodes well for my confidence in the team. I told you this morning, Phil, if they lose this one, a beat up San Fran team, Nick Mullins at quarterback, then I'm going to lose a lot of faith and a lot of confidence. There's no way I can go from this game losing this to Nick Mullins to thinking that we're going to beat Big Ben next week. So, it gives me confidence going forward. I hope it gives them confidence. That defense looked great. Obviously it's Nick Mullins and beat herd, whatever. CJ,
whoever.
That's his name. But the San Fran defense, I thought their defense still looked pretty stacked, pretty fast to the ball. It seemed like every play that we made, we earned. Even that Fulgham touchdown, he was covered. He just made a good catch. Wentz made a good throw. So, we earned that win. I know they're beat up, but I do take that as a good win, especially after seeing what we've went through. To Johnny's point, I hope we get some guys back. Anything helps at this point. We need depth at this point, and because it feels like every time if Slay goes down today, what happens? You know what I mean? It just seems like that with every injury. That it's like, oh my God, we can't have this happen. You know what I mean? And so I can only imagine how Wentz feels when he's standing behind that offensive line. He sees Peters gone. He sees Isaac gone. He sees Brandon Brooks gone. He sees Lane gone. And it's just Kelsey overthrowing the ball over his head. And I'm just like, I'm just wondering what he's thinking, man.
Kelsey has not had a good season at all.
Yeah, he hasn't looked like himself.
Yeah, he has not at all. So then before Johnny's final thoughts, George's last question of the night, if we're in contention and how he makes a trade, where do you want them to make that big splash trade? The offensive line, linebacker, wide receiver, cornerback. There's a lot of holes on this team. I'll give you guys both the first call on that. Who do you want? Not who specifically. What position would be your number one to address at the trade deadline?
Well, the trade deadline is November 3rd, so there's about a month.
So
I would say it all depends on where you're at in terms of health-wise on positions. Because if you get look at the receiver position. If you get Alshon back, if you get Rager back, I don't really think you need to make a huge splash there if those guys are back.
Even if you're not back, I think wide receiver Wentz has proven that he can win once he gets the confidence with the mediocre wide receivers.
Especially Goddard probably will be back. Everything like that, you'll have guys back. My thing is, I would probably look on the defensive side of the ball. I would love to get Miles Jack from Jacksonville, linebacker.
Yeah,
Plug him
I
right
think we
in.
talked about that in the offseason of them making that move potentially.
That's what I would say. I would probably say linebacker. I would tell Nate Gary, see that nice spot on the bench, go ahead, sit there, warm it up because you're not coming back on the field, and play Miles Jack there. Miles Jack would fit perfect. He could play all 3 downs. So that would be my decision. You'd have to give something up, of course.
Absolutely.
But that's where I would go.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like it's tough because I would like some depth in there at that offensive line, but that linebacker and core is just so scarce that I would almost take, anything, any professional level of linebacker at this point. Wide receivers intriguing. I think if it depends on the context of the trade, what you have to give up, what you would be getting in return. If it's a guy like Allen Robinson, shoot for the sky. You know what I mean? Like I was watching this guy play today, and I mean, this guy is amazing.
It's because Trubisky's not throwing to him.
Yeah, but come on now, Nick Foles. Not to start a Nick Foles argument. Nick Foles didn't look too good today. He looked like
he did.
Typical bad starting quarterback that he is. He's only good as a backup with the backup against the wall. Yeah, he's a roller coaster. Obviously, I agree with you. Offensive line would be where I would target in a trade most likely because you got to keep Wentz upright. You got to open holes up for Sanders. And someone tweeted out we brought him in before week 1 for workouts. He went through the whole entire COVID protocol, and he's still sitting out there as a free agent. Cordy Glenn. Why not bring even him in as a depth piece? It's rough and thin on that line right now, and Wentz is not going to be able to take all these hits all season long. That he's been taking. So we definitely need to boost that up.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to bring up from this slate of games today, you guys made fun of me on my Buffalo Bills pick 4-0.
Oh man, no,
I'm gonna keep saying it.
They're looking good, man. I mean, Josh Allen is
He's a sleeper MVP candidate. He's proven me wrong. Devin Singletary, who crushed me last year in fantasy because I thought he was going to be a sleeper and have a breakout year last year. He's finally doing it this year. Stefon Diggs is making Josh Allen look like a legit quarterback out there. Yeah, no. I mean, Josh Allen's tough too. Did you see the hit he took on his shoulder? Yeah. He came out briefly for like a half a second. I mean, the fact that he was right back out there, I mean, he's definitely a tough guy.
I will say what I was just going to say, he does make some head-scratching plays sometimes, though. There was a couple plays today, even I was just like, "What are we doing there?" But yeah, he's been pretty amazing so far, especially with Diggs. What were you going to say, though, Phil?
I was just going to let Johnny give his final thoughts if he had any other final thoughts.
Final thoughts for the Eagles. Super big confidence boost, especially on the West Coast, flying back. Hopefully the injury reports, with TJ Edwards isn't as bad, but you came out not that banged up. I know you lost a couple players and Lane Johnson going in and out, but the thing is just getting guys healthy. Hopefully you get a couple guys back to be able to plug in there to kind of deepen the roster, even if they're not super impactful guys. I think Alshon, I know he's older, but if he's back, he can be able to be a little bit of a reliable threat to be able to throw the ball. But it's just about, doing what they did tonight on the offensive game plan, moving Wentz around, being able to do that. But they got to start. I don't know the whole my thing is to watch the whole Miles Sanders thing. But the takeaway is you went in there, you played a tough team, a good game plan. And Kyle Shanahan, we talked about him and Sean McVay. They run the same thing. I felt the defense did pretty well on, somewhat handling that. They didn't handle the tight end, but getting the pressure, I think it's good building blocks going into next week at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's all wrapping this show up. It's all talking about building blocks and confidence, building to next week. This is where Doug flourishes, building these guys up, and he's actually got something positive to say to them this week, moving forward and all. So I think it's the sky's the limit to an extent in the fact that, we said it couldn't get any worse after last week. Well, it got better. And, hopefully now we might not beat Pittsburgh and Baltimore in the next 2 weeks, but if we can split those next 2 games and then come out of it at, with 2 wins at that point, 2-3-1, we'll still probably be in first place of the division, and we're building forward. You know what I mean? And that's all. Forget about the 0-2-1 start. Let's move
one game
forward.
at a time, man.
One game at a time. It's where Wentz and Doug, are their best with the backs up against the wall, and I'm confident moving forward. So I think it's great.
One last question for you guys. Do you think with the Miles Sanders trouble that they need to bring in, whether it's somebody from the practice squad, like a bigger back, because we have a bunch of guys that do the same things right now? I'm wondering, do you guys think we need to bring in somebody from the outside? What do you guys think as far as that running back position? Because
I mean,
Clement isn't it.
Clement's done.
Yeah.
Boston Scott, I don't think he's fast enough to be the Darren Sproles type, but he's not big enough to do anything else. So he's kind of a limbo kind of guy. And Killens, he touched the ball, twice today? He had that really big loss, and he lined up as a wide receiver a few times. He's young and he's a rookie. I'm pretty sure they cut from the practice squad Michael Warren, who was a big-bodied back that I liked, actually.
They also have that Jason Huntley guy they got.
Yeah, Jason Huntley. He was active today. He didn't really see the field today. There's a lot of hype around him and getting him from Detroit or wherever it was. I agree. They either need to figure out that – they got to do something with that running back room, because at this point, if you're not going to give Miles Sanders the ball 25 times, you need another running back there that can actually positive play.
They're basically – yeah, that Holyfield was who I was thinking.
Holyfield, that was the other one I forgot. There was a play late in the game when that was the last drive when Corey Clement was in there. You could almost tell like he had such a basic tell that it was going to be a basic run up the middle and third down. You could see his fingers wiggling. He was already jumping forward before the ball was snapped and all. He's a special team. Yeah, he was never a great player. He had a great Super Bowl. But he had a role, but the injuries have caught up to him, and he's just not good enough to make a significant impact in a game. So, yeah, it's a good question, and I'd like to see what they do. Sure, LeGarrette Blount or Jay Ajayi's out there available.
Don't you dare, Howie, to do it.
Jordan Matthews and Jay Ajayi in this week.
He will, man.
Yeah,
oh, man, they're just throwing Wentz back there. They said you can be our running back, man.
Yeah.
Wentz is RB2.
All right, well, let's wrap it up here. It was another great show. Thanks for everybody tuning in. A lot of great comments from a lot of great people. Again, Eagles are in first place, everybody. It's great. You can't beat that. I know, yes. Thank goodness. Again, want to thank a bunch of people. Obviously, we're streaming live on the All About the Birds Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter page. Follow All About the Birds on those pages, and at AAT Birds on Twitter. We're also streaming live on the Last Out Media page right now, at Last Out Media on Twitter. We're streaming live on the Heat Ratio Sports page right now, at Heat Ratio Sports. Check them out. Make sure you're following our great guy here, Scotty Talks Sports, at ST Philly Sports. Are you giving away that Slade jersey anytime soon?
Yes, I will be picking the winner tomorrow. I'm picking the winner tomorrow, man.
Can't wait to be the one that gets that jersey, even though I'm ineligible to win that. Obviously, follow Johnny Uleka at JohnnyU9322. The Video Man puts up all the great videos and hype videos that we see on all of social media. He's the monster at that. We're even going to throw out Jeff Warner's name. Hopefully, Jeff's feeling better in the hospital. Make sure you follow Jeff at Jeff Warner NFL or Jeff Warner Eagles or whatever it is. I forget what his is. He hasn't been on a show in so long. I forget what his Twitter handle is. But anyway, and of course, you can follow me at Beard and Knowledge. Again, thanks, guys. Great show. And I look forward to, don't forget, Wednesday, 9:15 p.m. The next preview show, we'll be doing it live right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Don't forget your fantasy show.
Oh, the fantasy show, Thursday nights at 8:30. Me, Jason Sullivan, and Josh Gamble are really starting to get into a rhythm, although I haven't won a penny in fantasy this year. Although I'm crushing All About the Birds. I'm crushing Tori from Last Out Media today. Crushing her.
Hey, man, I'm crushing Jeff.
Yeah.
he wasn't expecting that.
The Scotty Talks Fantasy League's killing me. I'm terrible there, but, we'll see how that goes.
Eagles defense got you some points, Phil, in that league.
Oh, I haven't even checked it since the Eagles game started. I forgot about that. I got a lot of points there then actually tonight. I like that. I might be ahead in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Can't wait to see you guys all again on Wednesday night for our next show. Hey, as we end every show, guys, go Birds.
Go Birds.